Welcome to Left, East to West with me, Nikki Hill.
And me, Tom Parkin, and our guest for this pre-convention special interview, Rob Ashton. Welcome to Left, East to West, Rob.
Thanks for having me, you two. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. Before we get diving in with Rob on some questions, we also just want to let you know that we are recording a special convention edition from Winnipeg at the NDP convention on Sunday. After everything wraps, when we know what has happened in the leadership race, all the excitement in a convention that it brings on a weekend, and we'll get that to you next Monday morning. You'll have all of the details about the votes, the debates, and insights from a panel that will have of special guests as well as talking about new opportunities and challenges the new leader will face.
And that new leader could be Rob Ashton, the national president of the International Longshore and Warehouse Unions, who's with us now as we record on Monday morning. Tomorrow, we'll record an interview with Heather McPherson. We've extended invitations to the other candidates since we started the show. So we're working on those pieces. We're going to ask each similar questions so that those still mulling their ballot in this final week can compare side by side and decide.
Okay, a little softball question, which would in most days probably be kind of a boring question because Rob and I live in the ridings next to each other. But Rob, where are you joining from today? And let's start with the top question we are going to start our Mondays with on all our meetings and calls. How is the weather where you are?
I'm in Prince Albert right now, Saskatchewan, and just looking out my window, there's a beautiful dusting of snow. It's below zero. The roads are clear, and it's been probably the middle of my drive to Winnipeg now.
Nice. So I just let you know it's really nice and sunny here in your home
Nikki,
territory.
enough.
I'm getting
Hey,
used to
it's
the
not
snow.
raining. That's important.
All right.
Okay, let's get into some of the serious questions for our leadership
Oh,
candidate.
my.
Um, so first of all, let's talk about something that's been a long-term problem, I think, for the NDP in federal elections for the most part, which is strategic voting. So, there's of course we see every federal election this concept. It's certainly not new. I know when I was when I was director of organization in BC doing federal campaigns, it was always something that we were watching for where those votes are being swung over to another party to, in the last election to counter the Polyev conservatives at different points in time, different goals here. So, what is your thinking on why the strategic voting appeal works, especially look at the last election for Carney? And what strategy do you think the NDP can use to try to diffuse it if it's deployed again, which probably will be next election?
So strategic voting has always been like tough on us, to put it mildly and lightly.
Mm.
I think that with the last election, the NDP lost a lot of voters because they lost trust in us, they lost faith in us, or they just didn't see themselves in our party anymore. And they bought into the cause plan act, the Polyev walking around saying he's a worker, which I think a lot of us have known, and a few more are starting to realize that he isn't a worker. He's a politician through and through. And so when Carney came along, he was the anti-Polyev, and he was the new playboy on the block. I can't believe I just said that. Oy. But everybody went, oh my God, look, he's flashy. He's Canadian and he's a banker. He's going to be able to beat up Donald Trump. But he's just a banker. He's another one of them, another member of the ruling class, going to rule on behalf of the ruling class. So after the election, and one of the reasons why I threw my name in the hat was I never seen anybody that could be the anti-Polyev, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
The person that can actually bring voters back from conservatives, somebody that's actually from the ground floor, from the shop floor, has been fighting for the working class his entire life. And so that's one of the many reasons why I jumped into the race, is because I can speak to the fact that Polyev is not a worker, that the conservatives had done nothing but hurt the working class in this country, both unionized and non-union workers alike, in different
Yeah.
pieces of legislation they brought in. And those that voted liberal are now seeing they're not voting for uh, a how do I say a center-right government anymore. They're voting for a conservative government. And so now they're starting to regret their votes. And so they're going to come back. So if somebody like me gets elected leader, somebody that knows how to talk to workers in all different stripes, in all different communities, they get something different, something that conservatives and liberals have never seen before.
Right.
Mm. Okay, a new Democrat is premier in 2 provinces of Canada, and in 4 more is the official opposition leader. That's Claudia Chender, Marit Stiles, Carla Beck, and Naheed Nenshi. Um, and we've seen everybody, all of them, try to adopt a tighter focus on jobs and affordability as we
Yep.
face this threat from the south. And those NDP opposition leaders face some pretty terrible conservative premiers who I think we can all agree need to get defeated. Now, in Canada, being a federation, sometimes the policy lever, a provincial leader or provincial premier, needs to have pushed or pulled to help on their economic plan for workers is in Ottawa. So, what is the opportunity to rebuild the federal NDP by being a spokesperson for provincial NDP leaders in Ottawa?
So the first thing have to do is stop attacking each other publicly. We should be having multiple conversations in private with New Democrats across the country, from coast to coast to coast. And that way we're not undermining them, because as soon as one wing of the party, whether it's a federal wing, provincial, or territorial, as soon as one of us undermines each other publicly, the conservatives shoot right past us. Right. And that's problem number one. Now, the problem number two, the success that we're having in the provinces is because the provinces have identified what worries the voters the most. And that's the lack of jobs, the affordability crisis that we're having,
Hmm.
our healthcare being driven into the ground by right-wing provincial ruling class governments. And so this is the problem that we're seeing across the country. And so the federal New Democrats have to take that on and have to be talking the same thing. We have to identify what's working in each province and then bring that and utilize it federally. And that's why the vast majority of my campaign, I've been talking about jobs, housing, affordability, and our healthcare system, and how to
Hmm.
make this better for working class Canadians. And when I say working class Canadians, just so everybody understands, I mean everybody that doesn't own the means of production unless it's worker owned means of production. And so that's small business owners, people that could put shoes on every day to go to work, or even if they don't wear shoes, lifeguards for example, or if it's people on disability or can't find a job, or you name it, they fall within the working class, because there's no such thing as the middle class.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about the working class, because I think, one of the things that's, of course, unique and distinct, and I think we had Suzanne Skidmore on for our show last week. I think she called it a superpower, was the fact that the NDP wasn't just created to be a party ideologically about the working class, but to actually be a party of the working class. So with
Correct.
the CLC, district labor councils, provincial federations in our constitution, labor affiliation, different models over the years of how labor participates with the party, but as that key party partner that is structurally part of the NDP. But one of the things in the post-election report that showed was that writing activists and labor activists seem to have moved apart culturally within our party. Those that
Yeah.
participated in the post-election debrief. So, how would you go about deepening the connection, getting more labor activists involved in the NDP, and really bringing back that party culture that feels like a home for all?
So one of the key aspects of our plan is to have the labor councils and the EDAs working together. And so have representatives of the labor councils actually on the EDAs and vice
Mhm.
versa. Because if we're not talking to each other and we're not creating a path down the road if we're not walking down the same path on the same road in the same direction, we're pulling the party apart. And
Mhm.
so not only that, but we're also going to be working directly with the Canadian Labor Congress to make sure that our ideals are the same ideals as the Canadian Labor Congress. And the legislation or the bills that we start drafting and we start writing, like, for example, the auto sector. If we start writing bills that involve the auto sector, we're going to talk to the unions like Unifor that are involved in
Yep.
the auto sector. If we're going to start drafting bills that talk about steel mills, we're going to be talking to the United Steelworkers. If we're going to talk about bills that have to do with the water and the waterways and shipping, we're going to talk to unions like the International Longshore Warehouse Union in Canada and the
Mhm.
International Longshore Association on the East Coast, as well as QP 375 in Montreal. So this is our game plan, right? Is to bring people in with the knowledge base and the knowledge sector, because I could write a bill about, I don't know, why the sky is blue. but I'm probably going to get it wrong. And so I go to the person that knows how to write that bill, the person with the knowledge and the information. I got to figure that one out first. I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
Now, Rob, both Nikki and I have been directors of organizing for provincial sections of the NDP. And I think fair to say we both very much come from the perspective that the NDP will not succeed where riding associations are weak. How we help get more people involved locally, help ridings raise money, and train the next generation of organizers.
So this is a great question. I'm going to model like what. So I lean heavily on my union background because that's where I came from. That's what I know. And so about 16, 18 years ago, something like that, we created a young workers conference
Mm.
that we put on every 2 years. And that trains the next generation of leadership in our union. And that's what we have to do within the party is we have to create training programs that we can deliver to the EDAs, that we can deliver to community members, and we can grow it and we can pass that knowledge along because leadership in the NDP, like say for myself, when I get elected leader on March 29th, I'm not leader for life. I'm leader for this amount of time. And so I have to be able to share my knowledge and the information that I have to the next generation. The other key aspect of this whole thing is that we have to start, um, for example, the money that comes back after the election back to the NDP, that
Mhm.
money, and I put a motion or a resolution through my EDA in Maple Ridge about this. That money has to go back to the EDAs within 90 days, so they have funding, right? And we have to have candidates in place long before an election is
Mhm.
called so that that candidate can actually start to know the community, know their EDAs, build fundraising. The EDAs can build ties to the community and not just a bam, elections called, we're going to set EDAs up because that doesn't work. And so
Mhm.
we're going to give people the tools and the capabilities to actually do the job between elections and work hard for each other and share the information that works in different communities and what doesn't work in communities.
Yeah. I love that all the candidates are talking about organizing. I think,
Uh-huh.
as Tom said, us both having been there, it's so critical and it takes this very long range view to get done. We just can't start, 6 months before an election. So I
Yep.
think these are great conversations that are going on right now about this rebuilding phase. Having done rebuilding myself. So let's talk a little bit about our presence here and how we talk about messaging and communication. So, as a party, and particularly right now, it's all about fighting for every column inch, and a small caucus, makes that obviously a lot tougher too, as hard as they're working right now in our caucus. But a lot of people just don't hear from the federal NDP. And I think one of the reasons we have this show is because we know there's a lot more of those right wing voices who are getting media time, and all of these are
Yeah.
issues I think that, center left are facing in general. So what do you think the NDP can do to try to get more profile, to try to get out a message that the movement can get behind, help deliver, and bring some of those voters back again?
Well, we have to go back to our old toolbox, right? So this is when I talk about going back to our roots. Is we used to remember the old soapboxes? People used to pack around, put on a street corner, step on it, and start talking. That's what we have to get back to. We used to be in the colleges and universities and
Yeah.
supporting our groups there. We used to go to high schools. I remember politicians coming to my high school
Yeah.
back in the 90s to talk about politics. And that's what we have to get back to doing. And the conservatives stole our playbook, right? They've got their people, that Jamal, what's his name, who's really not even worth mentioning the person's
Out on
name.
tour. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in colleges. He's in
Yeah.
universities. He's traveling the country. And it's gaining media momentum. Maybe not always the mainstream media, maybe social media, but that's picking up because that's what people look at all the time. And so that's what we have to do is we have to get back into colleges and universities and support our college and university groups. I know when I announced that I was running way back in October, my partner was talking to her daughter, and her daughter, they live in Ottawa, and her daughter went and talked to her teacher. And next thing I know, I got an invite to talk to their high school classes.
Mhm.
Now, I couldn't talk about NDP stuff, just government in general. So I said yes, and we made a date, and I showed up. These students are hungry for information.
Yeah.
and they're not getting it anywhere else.
Yeah.
And there was 2
Or
or
they
3
are.
classes there. They are, but
Yeah,
it's
they're
the wrong
getting
places,
Not a
right?
good place.
Not
And
about
so
us. Yes.
no, and so it was a good time to have a conversation, and that when you're making the decision to vote or making the decision to, get involved in politics, what side are you on? Are you on the side of hope and compassion and raising people up, or are you on the side of hate, divisiveness, and pulling people down that aren't like you? And so those are the conversations I was able to have without mentioning political parties, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, they're important. Hey, fun fact, my first full-time job in the BC NDP was the youth organizer, which we fought really hard to get as a position, and it was mostly going out to campuses and figuring out ways to talk to young people. So you can steal
It's
that idea for your we'll give it all the campaigns that is steal that idea.
it's an incredible part because that's the next generation. And if we stop talking to them, we get into situations like we're in today.
Yeah, especially with all the online misinformation.
100%.
Okay, well, we're just here for a short time with each of our leadership candidates this week, and we're really grateful that Rob found the time in this busy schedule as he drives to the Winnipeg convention.
Yep.
This is our pre-convention episode. And we've extended invitations to all the campaigns in the weeks prior, so we're trying to catch them before the convention, knowing they're all busy people in this final push. We're also building left east to west, so please follow our show and share our weekly episodes. This week, our Monday release is Suzanne Skidmore, president of the BC Federation of Labor. And then next Monday, it's going to be our special convention episode where we'll give you all of the analysis with a panel coming out of the convention weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.